Hey, I was just a guest on a podcast called Half the Answer. We were talking about lots of things about kind of contextualizing the current political era. And one point that I made that I felt like more people should hear this, should think about this, is a misunderstanding of our checks and balances. So here's what I mean. Our entire government, our entire system is founded on this idea of checks and balances, right? I mean, even the federalist system, that cities check states, check the federal government, and then back the other way. Of course, we have the three branches. And something that I think is hard for my students to really understand is that checks and balances work, and they're incredibly and intentionally slow. Part of the check on the checks and balances system is to make this process slow, right? So if a leader does something, and we say we think that's unconstitutional and we sue and it goes to court, that process takes a long time because we want to make sure we're really deliberating and making that decision very thoughtfully. And so what happens is that our checks and balances system is not built for a crisis. And this is why we've seen Trump more than any other leader. Now, other presidents have done this too. Andrew Jackson did this. Lincoln even did. Other presidents have done this to some extent where they take some action that they know probably isn't going to hold up in court, but they're like, I'm going to do it anyway, and then I'll ask for forgiveness later. Trump has basically just made this his entire policy, right? To say, well, I'm just going to do it. And then they're going to debate about whether I can do it, and it's going to go up through the courts, and maybe they'll decide I can't do it, but I'll have done it, and it'll be done. But the other thing that I want us to understand about checks and balances and just the Constitution as a safeguard for our democracy is that just because something's constitutional doesn't mean it's right. Constitutional isn't a synonym for good and right. It's a synonym for it's in the Constitution of a thing that technically can be done. And so this is where you might, if you are following people that are Black creators, LGBTQ creators, Indigenous creators, right? A lot of them are sending this message to us as white Americans going, this isn't new. This isn't a big surprise to us, right? Like these actions have been perpetrated on us for all of American history. And so us making this argument about, well, our Constitution will save us and checks and balances will save us. Remember that things in the past that have been deemed constitutional, we now all accept as wrong. Dred Scott, Plessy versus Ferguson, Korematsu versus the United States that said Japanese internment was totally fine, constitutional, right? And we all look back on those and go, well, gosh, that was wrong. So just remember, especially if you're kind of in this white majority and you've had a life of maybe being able to depend on the Constitution, being able to rely on law enforcement as like a force for good, a force to kind of keep you safe, and you're now all of a sudden feeling unsafe and you're feeling untethered and feeling like the Constitution maybe isn't working the way that it should, or our system isn't working the way it should. That's been going on throughout our country's entire history. It's just now directly impacting you maybe for the first time.